Hello everyone, how are you? This is Greg. I just wanted to check in with you. This is the first time I've been able to make a video. I used to do this all the time for EDDC 608, but I got a little busy, but I may start doing it again. And so I just wanted to let you know that there's actually a real person back here. And it's spring break and I work at home. This is my little office here. But I just wanted to talk about the course. I think the course is going really well up to now. We're starting to get to the point where it's going to get a little more technical. And so I just wanted to bring up a few things. First of all, I appreciate all your hard work. And quantitative analysis is a pretty in-depth field. And you're just starting it in this course. You're just starting it. So if you do a quantitative approach, you'll be taking, I think, at least one more quantitative course. And it's a fantastic way to write a dissertation. You have to have a passion for it. But anyway, we're starting in on the technical part of it. We'll just scratch it before the end of the course. So I just wanted to give you a few ideas. First of all, up to now, the only thing you've done is you've taken a construct, such as motivation. And motivation, you don't measure it like you do height. So you take that construct and you operationalize it with a survey in which you use some items, and then you turn that construct into a variable. So an example of this is IQ. IQ is a construct, and the only way you measure IQ is by giving somebody essentially a survey, and they answer a series of questions like you did, and those series of questions result in a score. Then that score becomes the value of the variable IQ that you've operationalized. That's how psychologists do that. So when you're doing survey research, you're taking a construct and you're turning it into a variable which you can actually measure numerically. So that's one of the things we've done. The other way, of course, is to measure a variable such as test scores or rates of passing a state assessment, something like that. Those are quantitative variables, and those are really the only thing that quantitative research deals with. So what you'll start doing this week is you'll take your construct, and I noticed Albert deals with community colleges a lot. So one of his variables might be rate of college graduation for men in 4 years, but it has to be a numerical variable. And so you're going to start actually setting up hypotheses for your variables. So one of the things that often gets confused in quantitative research, and it's a general principle of science too. When we conduct quantitative research, we assume that there's no relationship between groups, or there's no association between groups. So let me give you an example. A quantitative researcher might be interested in the effect on discovery learning and how it affects state assessment scores. Okay? All right, well, first of all, if you're going to compare, let's say, third grade girls and third grade boys, you would have a null hypothesis that would state there is no difference in the mean score on the state assessment in Oklahoma between girls and boys in whatever county, Oklahoma. So the null hypothesis would be that there is no difference, because science has not yet shown that there would be any reason for a difference. Now, as a researcher, you believe that maybe discovery learning is more effective with one gender or another. You may believe that eating jelly beans is more effective and causes an increase in learning between one gender or another, or between one socioeconomic group or another, or one teacher or another. The point of science is to find out what is actually true about a specific phenomenon. So your null hypothesis will always be something to the effect of there is no difference in scores, there is no difference in rates, there is no association between height and IQ. There is no association between hours of study and GPA. So you're going to set up what are called null hypotheses on your variables. The other thing is, it's important to understand the difference between directional and non-directional hypothesis. So a non-directional hypothesis would be there is no difference between the mean score on the state assessment of Mrs. Jones and Frank's third grade class. So you're assuming your hypothesis is there's no difference. A directional hypothesis would be that there is one of the teachers has higher scores than another. That's called a directional hypothesis. So in the first case, your alternative hypothesis, and you need to be very clear on what's a null and alternative hypothesis. Your alternative hypothesis is that there is a difference between scores between two groups, but you don't know which way it is. So you always start with a null hypothesis, and the goal of research is to reject the null hypothesis at a certain probability of committing a type 1 error. You never prove the alternative hypothesis, and this is what happens quite a bit. If we find a difference between groups, let's say students that are educated on one side of town and students that are educated in another, we've found a statistical difference, but that doesn't mean it is 100% sure in the population that is the case. Since you're dealing with inferential statistics, you're only shedding doubt on the fact that the means of the two groups are the same. So all of these concepts, null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, type 1 error, alpha, the maximum probability of committing a type 1 error, p, the actual probability of committing a type 1 error in a statistical test, these are very confusing, and it takes a long time before you're very comfortable with the terms and what they mean. So it's going to be an interesting week, and I'm on spring break. That doesn't mean I take a lot of time off. I have college-age kids, and they called me up and said, "Dad, here's where we're going on spring break, and you enjoy yourself too." I said, that's where I'm at right now. But I'm going to be on my bike and doing some things. But if there's any question on any of this, feel free to call, or feel free to submit questions before you submit the assignments, because this is now getting down to being very specific and technical in nature. The first 3 weeks was kind of general theory. So I'm more than willing to help you. Quantitative research it's pure science, and that's why it's enjoyable. And you have to use the scientific method. Now, if there's anything I can do to help, I do a lot of this, so please let me know. And I'm going to put the link for this video in an announcement, and I have a couple other things I want to bring up, but so far so good. Now we're getting into the nuts and bolts of being actual quantitative researchers, where we test hypothesis, and there's not a lot of gray area here anymore. So it'll be a good week. Let me know if you have any questions, and I know you're all working hard on spring break, but it's just something we have to do, so love to help in any way I can. Just let me know. Okay, thank you. Bye.